Okay, hopefully you enjoyed those quick photos and video from my ghostwriter on Trick or Treat Night. There, of course, will be more stuff done to that cosplay, but not until I'm going to wear it to a convention. Right now, I need to get back to, not just for myself to wear in January, but for you, the viewer, who have been wanting to see the rest of this, which is the X-Force Wolverine. I've already done the mask, and I've also done claws in a previous video, and the type of gloves that I use and how I attach them, and also showed you how I made the bracer. And today we're going to do essentially shin guards and shoe covers. Now, there's a link to these patterns. I put them up for free on Facebook, so you can just go there and download those and print them out. However, my advice, especially for this part here, going from right below your knee around your calf down to your ankle, that you just take saran wrap and duct tape and wrap yourself, much like in the previous video where I did the bracers for the arms and said the same thing, like that's your best bet. I did, however, put these patterns up, and I didn't for the bracers, but I did put these up more or less as suggestions and guidelines as to where to make your cuts. You can of course do whatever you want, just use this video as a generic example, or these may fit you with a little bit of scaling up or down, or they may just fit you exactly. I have no idea, but lots of people, your legs could be longer, and stretching these out isn't really going to work. You'd probably need an extra couple cuts in your pattern to get it to work properly. So that's my advice there. And I want to give a shout out to JMKS Cosplay on Instagram. I'm pretty sure he got the patterns for his shoe covers, but I've been watching about the stuff he had made for Iron Man and the Flash, and that's really what inspired me to do this. So I'm going to put that down below in the description, so definitely go check that out. And without me rambling anymore, let's go ahead and just jump right into the video. Okay, first I cut out my pattern pieces. These are all the ones for the right side. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Probably can't see it, but I did label them all with a Sharpie just so I don't get confused. Next, I'm going to take some DAP Weldwood contact cement and apply it to the surfaces to be bonded. If you haven't used this stuff before, make sure you use it in a well-ventilated area. It is flammable. Brush some on each surface that you're going to glue together. Let it sit for 15 minutes. Line them up and glue them together. But it is kind of a one-shot thing, so make sure you have everything even, or you'll have a wonky-looking project. So for the right ones here, I've already applied my contact cement and let it sit for 15 minutes and rest. I'm going to start with the left side and glue that all the way over to here, starting with 1 to 2 and so on. Right now that I have both the right and left side put together, I'm going to proceed with my heat gun to heat this up and curve it and pull the shape the rest of the way into it. Alright, next I took some 5mm EVA foam and cut some 2-inch wide strips, and those strips I wrapped around my spats at the seams. You can run them straight, or you can follow the seams and put them more at an angle, which is what I did. Basically the bottoms are straight, this is slightly angled up, this is angled up much more, and the top one matches it more or less. And that way there's a definite distinction between the left and the right, but if you want you can put them straight or do something else. The simple fact is, between artwork from different illustrators that have drawn the X-Force covers or comics themselves to the actual Marvel action figures, the boots vary a decent amount. Some are solid down the front with straps coming off, some have 3 bands going around them, some have 4 or more with crazy designs. I just went with this. It was kind of a middle of the road choice, and since I had 4 seams I decided to do 4 bands. Now this is the right, this is the left, and this would be the inside of the legs, and this would be the outside of your legs. And you'll notice that on the inside, these all stop early. And on the outside, they all overlap, and that's because I'm going to put Velcro here, and obviously here, so that I can close it. Now, the top ones I just cut to 12 inches long, and they don't go all the way around, because my knee will be here, and whenever my leg is bending, I don't want this to cut into the back of the leg, which is also why there's only 3 of these straps, like I say, that overlap. That way you have plenty of room to bend your leg, and I put them on the inside of my leg, so if I needed to, I could just reach down and tighten or loosen them or do whatever I wanted to easily. I felt like for myself personally it would be harder if it was on the outside of the leg where the Velcro is. Consequently, this does kind of cause the issue where if my legs rub together, it could snag these and undo the Velcro. So, catch-22. Balancing act. So that's pretty much that. Alright, now that I have my straps and all that on, I am starting to apply my industrial strength Velcro. Now, this stuff does have adhesive on it, but quite frankly, the adhesive is not as strong as the Velcro itself. At least not on surfaces like EVA foam or anything else I tested it on. So what that translates to is the hold of the Velcro is stronger than the stickiness, so it will straight just rip the Velcro right off here. So what I do is use contact cement to help get those to stay on there. Alright, I have the Velcro on both of these, and now they can hold their shape nicely. Next, I'm taking some Mod Podge. Doesn't matter if it's gloss or matte. In fact, you don't even have to use this to seal the foam, although I always do recommend sealing the foam prior to painting it. However, if you just get some black plastic, for example, and you're fine with that particular tone, shine, and everything that you're going to get from the black plastic, you can just go ahead and do that. But I like this because for the cost, which is $8.99, but I use my 40% off coupon, so I don't pay that much. And this has already gone through, I want to say, at least 4 or 5 projects like this, and I'm not even halfway down it. So that's part of the reason. And I just use that and a brush, and I'm going to apply it in direction of the bands. And once it's sealed, I will then paint it with my airbrush. And here they are after being painted and allowed to sit for a while. Next, I'm going to make the lower parts of these because I want covers for my shoes. That way I don't have to buy any sort of specific footwear for this cosplay. In fact, I wanted something that would match into this a little better, so that's the other reason for it too. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is assemble the toe pieces, which is the top of the toe and the front. I have them marked A and B for right and left, but first thing I'm going to do is I put contact cement in these gaps here because this has to be closed up prior to gluing the side to the top. Okay, now that the toe top and the sides are together, the toe shells are basically done, and we can set those off to the side. Don't need to touch them. For right now, we're going to focus on putting together the rest of the feet. I'm going to start by putting 1 to 2. Next, I'm going to take the 2s and the 3s and put them together. Then I'm going to do number 3 to number 4. Now I'm going to take the number 4 and the number 5 and attach them together. And then I'm going to take the 5 and attach it to the 1 to complete this part of your foot, shoe, whatever cover. Bam! And now that they are all together, I'm going to go ahead and use my heat gun on the high setting to help put the rest of the shape that I want into them. Okay, now I'm going to start putting on the accent pieces, and this is the top accent, and how I line this up is I basically just put the point with the center seam, center it on here. They do slightly flare up on either side, if that helps, and then I just trace around it and put on my contact cement and attached them together. Okay, next I'm gluing on the rear accents, and for these, they are side specific. So the more rounded side goes on the outside of the shoe, and the more clipped side goes towards your instep. And I start by heating them, putting a little bit of a curve in them, then I just glue it here on the bottom first. And to glue that on, I've used super glue. Okay. Once I have the bottom on and glued, I glue the sides. I just pinch them in and line them up with the seams. I give it about ½ inch between the point and the bottom, but I line it up pretty much right up over the seams. It'll help cover them there, but the main function and purpose of this is to help cover the area in between the bottom and this top piece that I've already made. So when I'm walking, I still have plenty of room to move my leg, but you can't see very much of my shoes or my socks, and just, helps to sell the cosplay a little bit more. Alright, now I'm going to focus on the toe cap piece. So for this, the more blunt side of the human eye-shaped piece, labeled the toe cap, will go towards the inside where your instep is, and the pointier end here will be pointing towards the outside. Now, before gluing this on, I extremely heated this. And then shaped it with my hands so that it would actually fit on here to glue it. And did not use contact cement. Once again, I just used some super glue. Okay, so the final things that I've done is I put on the side accents, which you cut out 4 of them, and I will put the V's so you can line them up on both sides, on the 5 and the 2. But basically, I run them from the back here is flush, and then the front there's a bit of a gap. And once I have them on, I do heat them and flare them out. Now, I also glued them too, much like I did this rear one, by gluing the bottom first with super glue, and then doing the sides next. That way I can position them so it already has that outward flare, because whenever I have my shin guards on and I'm walking, I don't want this running into it. But like I say, I want to conceal as much of my actual, socks and shoes as possible whilst doing so. Now, as far as the actual toe piece itself, I just used some polypro strapping. And I picked this up at Walmart. I believe it was $1.99. But if you look here, this is about as much range of movement as I have till it starts to actually wear on the foam. Now you could use elastic, you don't have to use polypro, but with the type of shoes I'm wearing, which are skate shoes, I do have a bit of articulation, but this isn't for a fan film. I'm going to be wearing it around a convention center. I'm not going to be jogging or running in this, so that's as much as I want and as much as I need. Okay, so I've put some 1-inch wide elastic in this way, and as you'll notice, I put this a little bit behind my arch. That way my heel still has full contact, and the ball of my foot, with the way I stand and walk, is where I put the majority of my weight. If you're not sure where that is, if you get an older pair of shoes, generally the heel and the ball is worn out, at least on mine. But checking that out will give you a good idea. Wherever you have the most tread, you put the least pressure. And for me, that was about right there. Also, this way I can put this on my leg with my foot through, tie my shoe, and then pull this back and slip this over the shoe itself, getting it on easily so it stays in place. And yeah, I know eventually the elastic will wear out, but that'll be pretty simple to replace in comparison to having to remove this from a shoe that I glued it to, or any other number of things. Which, of course, if you don't want it like this, you could just glue it to a shoe. And the amount of money I spent on adhesive and stuff to make this is pretty low versus me going out and spending $75 to $200 for some boots to alter, whether it's gluing foam to them anyways or whatever. I just made some covers. And these little tread pieces that I made, I wasn't sure if I was going to have enough room between the ground and the top of this. Luckily I did. In fact, I had more than enough. I had about an eighth to a quarter of an inch, depending on the spot. So what I did was, to make it look like I had tread, was I just took a piece of 1/2 inch EVA foam floor mat. This has tread on the bottom part of it to make it grippy, and the top part is what you're supposed to stand on. I picked these up at Harbor Freight, and I cut them 1/3 of an inch wide, the strips, and then just measured them to length and trimmed them and used contact cement to glue them on. Now all that's really left to do is seal these with Mod Podge and then go ahead and airbrush them all black. Okay, so I've gone ahead and painted these black. Right now I'm just waiting on them to dry the rest of the way, and I'm going to move on to doing the toe caps with some Model Masters Silver Chrome. So having originally intended to airbrush these toe caps the same as this, but I wanted more of a dry brush weathered look, with it being a little bit more, say, thicker in the center and a little more dispersed out towards the edges, as if it was a metal cap on a boot that Logan wore down the black off of by kicking the crap out of people, I suppose you could say. Yeah, so there it is, all painted up, dry brushed with my Model Master Silver Chrome. Now I'm going to throw these on real quick and get some shots basically from the knees down so you can see what they look like in movement. Okay, so there's still a couple adjustments that I need to do on the actual feet part of it, but of course the rest of it all fits really well. So, pretty much happy so far. Next video is going to be either the upper or the lower, or probably just combine it together. All I'm actually going to do, 90% sure, I have to do some more filming of myself wearing the pants with the shoe covers and the leg guards before I decide, but I don't think I'm doing any sort of muscular, like, Under Armour type thing for the thighs. I have gray pants. I don't think I need to have any sort of padded muscles. I skateboard and ride a bicycle, and I work on my feet, so I think I'd kind of look absurd if I added a bunch of padded muscle to my thighs. However, my upper body, that piece of the costume is going to take a little bit of work, I'm afraid, because I'm not going to go to a gym. Just not. So, yeah. I am going to do like a muscled chest, most likely shoulders, biceps, that is going to have something stretched over it. Actually probably not going to use a lot of EVA foam for that. Actually going to use couch foam like a normal muscle suit, and then just stretch whatever I'm going to have over it. Although I do still need to make a utility belt of sorts with the round X-Force logo in the middle. So that's something else, that's a little bit more technical to work on. But like I said, patterns are up on Facebook. If you want, you can print them out, scale them up or down to fit you. I still honestly think the best thing to do is to go ahead and just use these as examples that you can download and print out for this specific thing. Because your leg, like, the length from your ankle to your knee and the size of your calf and the width of your leg, that's a uber specific thing. If you're making something like a mask of sorts to just cover and obscure your face, and you just need your face to fit inside it comfortably and not be too big on you so it looks weird with your costume, but not be too small so it's tight and uncomfortable, that's kind of a simple thing in my opinion, to scale, unless you have some out there dimensions for your head, your nose, your cheekbones, your eyebrows, something that is making most patterns not work for you. But as far as like legs, that's really oddly specific. So as I've already mentioned multiple times, just wrap You know, put on whatever pants you're gonna have for your cosplay. Wrap it in saran wrap and then duct tape, and then cut that off and make your own patterns to fit you exactly. Okay, and you can always enlarge them a little bit so that you have some room to play with, because you can always trim it down, but it's a bit harder to add stuff to it, especially without having a bunch of glue and seams and other stuff to mess with. So that's honestly my advice on this, and that's why they're up on Facebook, that you can just download them for free. Like, I sell the Red Hood shin guards because it's the front, and that can be altered to fit almost anybody. But when it's going 360 around something as specific as a leg, which a part of your leg, your calf muscle has to move, and you know, you have to walk around in it. So that's my advice on that. Just use these as an example and go from there. If you want to use the accent pieces and, you know, shrink them or enlarge them to match, perfect. But yeah, as always, thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully this gave you some ideas and inspiration for your own projects, and have a great day.